Yo, what's good everyone? It's Zigzag here. Welcome back to another Geoguessr video. Great to have you back on the channel today. And I'm going to let you guys into a little bit of Geoguessr lore today, because 2 to 3 years ago in the Geoguessr community, back when it was much more like the Wild West, there was a very infamous player and cheater known as Snorlax. Now, even though to most pro players at the time, it was pretty obvious that he was cheating, in the wider community, many people considered him legit. He gained over 1,000 subscribers and set a bunch of crazy world records on the channel. Also, I love how 2 years later, his description still reads, Geoguessr Pro, don't hate, just appreciate greatness when you see it. And one other thing you can say about Snorlax is that he was a big personality.
I got banned. Bezo, did you say you got banned for, or did you say you got banned for cheating? On that, did you say you got banned for cheating or not? Yes, it did. It says you got banned for cheating. Meanwhile, the goat is still here. Unlucky. Cheat that. Bezo, cheat that.
Anyhow, Snorlax, as I said, set a bunch of crazy world records back in the day, which of course were all later on discredited as faked. However, I thought it'd be fun to go back to some of these records, pick the most achievable ones, because some of these straight up aren't possible in my opinion, and I thought I would try and beat one. Well, I did 2 videos on that in the past, where even as a person with 30,000 games played now, I still could not beat it. But recently I've been practicing my no-move skills a little bit more, and I was able to beat this record here, a rural world, no-moving 44 country streak. So right now I'm going to take you through the streak, which was quite a good one. It was also one of my first attempts of the evening, fully unedited in the description if you want to go check it out on my second channel. However, I'm just going to show you guys the hardest rounds where I could have gotten a mistake. Okay, well, the streak starts off with a really easy Thailand here. We got Thai script, we got polls. Obviously, being able to look around is a huge advantage when you are playing a country streak, and Thailand is normally pretty gettable. However, on this map, it's rural world. As the name would suggest, most rounds are kind of out in the middle of nowhere, and it does mean that sometimes the country is just really, really difficult to get. So we get the Chile there. I think I'll just skip forward now to the first difficult round. Okay, country number 6 here was actually a fairly difficult round. So we can see the ocean out here. We got wooden poles. Apologies for the kind of low quality recording here. I don't know why it's like that, but we've got the European blue car here. We got these wooden poles, and in particular, we have these kind of lights here, which you can see are kind of in a silver section and a black section. Now, in Brazil, these are really common in the state of Minas Gerais. They're known as the Minas lamp, but you do see them around Latin America and also occasionally in Europe, particularly Spain and Portugal. And this is actually the Portuguese island of Funchal, which I think there's actually nothing to necessarily give it away here, but if you've played as much Geoguessr as me, it's a very recognizable island. So we move forward to 6 countries in a row. Next one here is a very straightforward Malaysia, so let's skip forward to the next hard round. Next one I thought I'd include just because I got a really nice guess. So I see northeast, we see the ocean, and we see land. We have the kind of cut off short antenna, which is really common in Croatia, and then I was just looking for something that lined up with the island. I thought that we're looking directly northeast at land on this island here, so I decided to go for it, and would you know it, it's 4.7 kilometers away. Very nice guess there, if I don't say so myself. Next one here, I guess it has potential to be other countries. I'm pretty sure this was just Peru. Definitely could have been Bolivia or Chile, but yeah, had to be Peru ultimately, and it was close to the border of both countries. And let's skip forward. Okay, so if you guys know me, I have some weaknesses. You guys know I love to guess Colombia on Philippines, and you guys know I'm not the biggest fan of getting Romania in streaks. Tends to screw me up a lot. But one region of the world that I definitely struggle with is the Baltics. Would you know it, we have a Baltic round here. So let's see what I saw, because I actually don't remember necessarily where this was. I do recognize that it's Baltics. I think this is a case of, look, we're early in the streak. I'm just going to go for Estonia because it looks the most like Estonia. And yeah, it was Estonia right on the border with Latvia there. So a bit lucky, but as I said, like early in the streak, you kind of just go for it. So that was a good call. Next one here, immediately I thought it might be Baltic again, but this one is going to be Canada. And if you didn't know, there's a slightly different way that the Canadian versus American car is blurred. At the front in Generation 3, there's like 2 divots on the blur of the car. It's a very recently discovered meta. I think Castrola discovered it, but it is very useful for streaks. This was always going to be Canada anyway, but for some harder rounds, it can be very, very good in determining the 50-50. Okay, next one here immediately was difficult. So no skipping required here. We got a round pole, which is a really interesting style of pole. I would call this the old Italian style. I've just heard people saying that. I'm not exactly sure why these are called the old Italian style of pole, but it's this kind of crossbar at the top. And I know they're really common in North Macedonia and Serbia, so former Yugoslav countries. I definitely don't associate them as much with Croatia and Slovenia, but I thought the landscape here, especially with having an antenna, fit with Croatia a lot more. So I just decided to go for Croatia here, even though I thought maybe it could be like Romania or something. Ends up being a really nice guess, but definitely had potential to be wrong there. Next one here is definitely by no means free. We've got the white Google car, we have red soil, and a lot of coconut palms here. There is one crucial factor in deciding the round here, and hopefully I zoom in on it one more time, and that is right here. You can see the hook on the top of the pole here. That is the insulator. That's where the power lines are going to. And when you have a single hook on the top of the pole above the pole, that's something that's overwhelmingly seen in North and South America. And pretty much the only country you consistently see it outside of there, I would say, is Philippines. Now, this with the amount of coconut palms and the Asian looking buildings really felt like the Philippines. So the pole kind of made it obvious here. I guess I was just like going a little bit longer to check, but definitely not the easiest round ever, especially without the poles. I could have gone the wrong country. So we're up to 16. Snorlax's record is 44. So we're on the way there. Next one here, you know, it has the Indonesian colors painted on the pole, so we can skip forward. Okay, picking back up at a 20 streak here, we have a fascinating round, extremely volcanic looking soil, and we're clearly so elevated here. It feels like it's kind of a tropical climate, but we've got only pine trees, no palms or anything like that here. We also have the white Google car. I just associate the Quito area with this extremely dark soil, even though it does exist in Colombia. Also, the fact that we're so high altitude, I just thought it felt quite familiar for Ecuador. Now, the problem with going Ecuador here is that there's a lot more dirt road coverage in Colombia than in Ecuador, so it's always a bit of a risk. But I thought that soil just being actually that black color should put us probably in Ecuador. And so just one final check on the Google car, one final check on the hill here, and I should send it momentarily. That's exactly what I do. It ends up being just south of Quito there. I skip forward, and yeah, the other rounds in that seed were fairly easy. So let's head forward. Okay, 24 countries in a row. We get another difficult one here. This one's just a pure 50-50. We have this many oil palms. These are oil palms. They're kind of very circular shaped and low to the ground, and they are very highly associated with Indonesia and Malaysia. So the real question here is just working out which country of the two it's going to be, because yes, it could technically be others as well, but with this Google car and with this kind of landscape, it should really be one of those two. It's a difficult round because it's generation 3. It kind of reminds you more of Malaysia. We have an Indonesian looking palm tree there. It's an areca palm, really common in India and Bangladesh, but also in Indonesia. And I end up going for Malaysia. Reason being that it's generation 3 and the road is really thin and it kind of just felt like it. The coverage just kind of felt right. It's a completely wrong guess in terms of kilometers, but in terms of country, it's absolutely right. So that was a good one to get. Obviously a little bit lucky. We're on 25. We're already pretty close to 44, but I can tell you, Weyobo on 44, we actually destroyed his old world record, which at the time, by the way, seemed impossible. So that's not me tooting my own horn. It just goes to show how far the community has progressed. This one's another one of those US-Canada 50-50s that's solved by the Google car blur. It definitely kind of looked like Canada. On this occasion, the blur actually helped, but we also had an American-style bollard here, so it definitely was gettable if I was playing with a no-car script, and I'm pretty sure I would have guessed Montana here, but we'll see where it actually was. It feels like, oh, actually, I think I guessed over here and it was Montana. Let's see if I'm right about that. So I hit the guess in, and yeah, it was my first thought, Montana, but yeah, 26 in a row now. Let's see what we get next. This one, okay, this is a 50-50 that does actually screw me up every now and again. I got it wrong yesterday, for example. It's Albania versus Montenegro, and the thing is, like, as long as you get it right most times, it's fine. But when you're on a 26 streak, like, you know, it's a lot of small choices to be made that kind of pile on top of each other. So you just have to be on your A game if you want to build a big streak. Anyway, we got those rifts in the sky. We got that very green landscape. In fact, just as I'm filming this, they announced Serbia is getting coverage. So maybe Montenegro and Albania might be on the chopping block as well, which would be great. But maybe those rifts will go extinct. Anyway, I'm just counting the ribs on the antenna, you know, average Geoguessr player activities. I actually don't remember which country this is. What do I actually think? I think it's more Albanian, but I cannot remember what I went for. Let's see what Oscar from the past thinks. It was Albania, actually in the south there. I definitely was getting more of a north vibe, even looking back at it. But here's the next one. This one's another one of those kind of Indonesia versus Malaysia toss-ups. I think this one's more straightforwardly Malaysia, but I can't exactly remember. Definitely just looks like Malaysia, especially with these polls. So I think I'll skip forward. Okay, next round here is a very difficult one. This one, I think a lot of people who are good players would fail. And obviously, if the video continues, I get it right. But let's check out what the round had. So it's clearly a bit high altitude here. We have a round pole here, concrete pole. And I turn around to see the Google car. It's the white car with the stubby short antenna here. That type of antenna is found, especially with the white car, is found in Mexico, Ecuador, Colombia, and Brazil. Brazil. And yeah, with round poles, it really would make you more likely to be thinking Ecuador or Colombia, because obviously Mexico has the octagonal poles, and down in Brazil, they tend to use those kind of sectioned rectangular poles. So at this point, I'm kind of deciding between the two countries aforementioned. I was really struggling to bring this one to mind. I end up going for Ecuador here, but it is not an easy get. That's purely on vibes, basically. The next one here is an easy Senegal. Okay, next round here is the kind of stupid mistake that you don't want to make. It's a very easy Andorra here, but sometimes you get very similar looking rounds just over the border in Spain or maybe even France. So I was just trying to make sure that this was not Spain. At the end of the day, I happily did not gaslight myself and ended up going for Andorra. It is right on the Spanish border. They're literally meters away, I would say. But we make it through, so that's a good result. Next one here, pretty straightforward. Malaysia. Took a while for me to get this, I think, but yeah. The soil was particularly red. Apart from that, everything checked out. Okay, 36 countries in a row are coming up to Snorlax's former world record here. And now we're looking at a fairly straightforward round, I would say. This is another one where checking the car blur helped a little bit, because Cambodia has the American style car blur that I was talking about before, whereas Thailand has the Canadian style, which pretty much every country in the world has. It's only a few countries that use the American style blur. So I was definitely thinking Cambodia here, but unfortunately there are a few other countries that could have been options here. So I had to continue considering. Looking at the vegetation, everything seemed to fit, so I sent it and it was correct. Okay, we pick up again at 41 countries in a row. Now, I'd actually forgotten that Snorlax's record was 44, not 40, so I thought I'd beaten at this stage, and I was just kind of chilling, which is good because the next round is very difficult. We have the beloved or hated Ireland / United Kingdom 50-50 here. This was a very difficult round. There was basically nothing going on, but we could see the coastline. So I was trying to work out, is this exact cove or whatever you would call this here? I guess bay or cove, something like that. You guys can tell me. You're the geographers more than I am, to be honest. But whatever that water inlet in the side of the land is there, over to our north. So I was trying to line it up. I was firstly trying to work out landscape, what I thought was more likely. But then as you can see over here, there definitely is a huge body of water. So I'm just trying to line it up with the map here. We definitely see a whole lot of hills. I'm just trying to work out, are there many people on the other side of the water there? From what I could tell, it seemed pretty sparsely populated. And as you can see here, sorry for the poor quality, but you can see there's quite a few people living on that side of the ocean. So first thought was Ireland, but there was only one, or first thought was Northern Ireland, but there was only one real spot that made perfect sense on the NI side. So then I turned my attention to Ireland, because you can also tell on this round that the road is kind of gravelly. It's a bit grainy, which is something you do see in Ireland and France, particularly quite a lot. So after I pretty much confirmed that I did not think it was the one where I clicked near Belfast, then I was feeling much more confident to go in Ireland. I was looking all at the south here. There were plenty of options that it could have been, even up near Dublin, even over this direction in the west, but clearly we could see East Ocean here. So I was not feeling good about that. Even where I ended up guessing doesn't necessarily make a whole lot of sense, but I go over here in the southwest of Ireland. Finally, sending in the guess there, it is actually east of Cork. Decent guess in the end, but at the end of the day, that is a really tough 50-50. There were just more places in Ireland that made sense. Now, I would have been devastated to exit the recording and find out that it was actually 44 I had to beat, not 40. But anyway, next one here, we appear to be in Spain or Greece initially here. There are maybe places in Italy that could look like this, but gosh, actually, I'm just realizing the rounds between 40 and 44 were really tough on this streak, because this is about as generic as they come. I'm trying to remember exactly where this actually was, but it's quite green. It's very lush on the left-hand side of the screen there, very dry on this side. And then we also have very dark red soil, which you do see in both, I would say, Spain and Greece, and it's probably a little bit less common in Italy overall. So yeah, and look at this very like stony hill that we have over that side. That, I wasn't sure what I made of this. Yeah, so this one took a lot of scanning. I've just skipped a few minutes of scanning. Basically, at the end of the day, I looked at this architecture. It looked like it was made of stone, and it was pale, but it wasn't white. I do associate Greek houses with being a bit more white here, and I don't know, like also the road was a bit darker as well. Like both the house and the road were a little bit darker than what I would expect in Greece. Even though, like, to me, I think Greece is a super valid guess here, and it was my initial thought. I end up going for Spain, and it ends up being a corker of a guess there, but I really was unsure. So sometimes you get good fortune like that. This one here had potential for real difficulty. I think I would have really been tempted by Albania, but we didn't have an antenna on the Google car. So the fact that there was no antenna meant that Albania is basically impossible unless it was a trekker. And also the graffiti language made me think it might be Albanian as well. But at the end of the day, I think, I don't know if Albanian and Turkish are related, if Albanian's a Turkic language. I don't think so, but they certainly look similar sometimes. And this was actually Turkey. Just a very weird Turkey, definitely a difficult round. But nonetheless, we pulled this one because of the lack of antenna. I make the guess, ends up being all the way east. I just don't see how that's a very difficult round. And here we go, the final one to see whether we can actually beat the record. It is in some respects not an easy round here. There's no houses to like get a full vibe, just a shack over there, not really a proper house, I would say. And yeah, a lot of like palm trees and not much else. But then the Google car as well, not particularly useful. It's kind of like the generic white one, which you can see in basically every Southeast Asian nation, I would say. In fact, I think that's actually probably true. But we do, and again, the quality is slightly lower here for you guys, but I could definitely make out that this was a yellow number plate. Yellow number plates around Southeast Asia, not particularly common, and definitely something you occasionally see on government vehicles in Indonesia. They have either red or yellow plates for kind of official government vehicles. I'm not really sure what the definitions are. Maybe someone Indonesian in the comments can tell me, but I knew that that's at least possible in Indonesia, even if it is very rare. And so despite the fact that the poles and the kind of amount of palms felt maybe a bit Philippines, I end up going for Indo here. And it is correct, it's actually the island of Lombok. How hard can I push it? I've now beaten Snorlax. One of his records. I could go for another one if this video does well, but let's just see how far we can push. Next one here is an easy chili. And do we have another hard one? I think this might be a Baltics. Yes, it is a Baltics. Look at that language. When you get a word ending in AS, a shiver of fear runs through your spine because you know it could either be Latvia or Lithuania. So I have to look over here, get a vibe for what is actually going on this round. So we have a lot of trees planted here. We have a fairly nice house. I even considered Germany. Maybe it could have just been someone with a Baltic last name in Germany here, because the house looked fairly nice, and it was 2023 blue car, which is something you see a lot in Germany. Now, my initial vibe here looking at this round was that this might actually be Lithuania, but now I think I saw a Latvian style pole. So I think in the distance I could vaguely make out a Latvian style pole, and I think that is actually what I end up going for here. You can kind of see it over here. I could vaguely make out the hooks. At the end of the day, there's really little to go off of here apart from that. And so most of the time you wouldn't see wooden poles, and I thought it was wooden, so I opt for Latvia here. It ends up being a super guess, just kind of accidentally there. It's right on the Lithuanian border. And as I said, I thought it looked more like Lithuania, even looking at it this time. So yeah, good fortune. We're up to 50 countries in a row. I was very keen to see how close this could actually be to the official world record, even today. So obviously this was an easy chili. I go forward. Okay, 52 countries in a row. We once again have a difficult round here. So I check the copyright, as you know. I mean, this is one of the good things about NMPZ, like copyright and the Google car, like play a bit less, I guess, or they're less staring at them. Definitely in this record format where it's always rural, you have to check that copyright and car every round, basically, unless it's super easy. Anyway, we had a lot of ferns going on here, that's for sure. We had some wild roaming sheep, some cows over there as well. A wooden pole with a big yellow sticker for electricity warning. That's something you see obviously in Ireland and the UK, so it was fairly sure that this was not France after that I saw that. And then the question was, which of the two countries, UK or Ireland? Now I thought this was like very hilly for Irish standards. I thought definitely just like as a standard guess, UK made a lot more sense here. Just that kind of rolling big hill landscape that you might see in the West Midlands, or if I'm saying that correctly, I guess Wales, and I think it was just inside Wales there, so not too bad. Next one here, obviously coming towards, obviously on a huge streak, seeing Ghana is always great. So I try and line up the road here. I doubt I actually got the right one here. I think it was a bit further south than what I clicked, but I thought this one kind of lined up going northwest on a dirt road, and I end up opting for it. And okay, never mind. I'll eat my words. I was correct. Good job, Zigzag. 29 kilometers away. Next round here, we got the black Google car with wooden poles. The black Google car is really commonly found in a few countries in Europe, but definitely Greece has the most. Combine that with wooden poles, and I was relatively certain certain that this should be Greece, especially with how tall this one was. Like, the other ones could have fit in other countries, but this one being, how many meters do you reckon that is tall? Like, I guess at least, what, 8 meters, maybe 9 meters tall? That really feels like a Greek height to me. Gigachad tall poles. Okay, so I just thought that's a fairly straightforward round. Ends up being on the island south of Corfu, can't remember what that's called. And we head forward to the next round, which is a very difficult round, actually. This one had my attention for quite some time. We have a lot of red houses here. So you can see this is definitely Nordic architecture. We have birch trees here. We have a really long barn. We have red roofs with red walls. It was a bit weird that some of it was made of brick and rendered stone. It was also very flat here, like slight hilliness to it, but definitely very flat. Immediate vibe here was either Denmark or the southern county of Sweden, which is Skåne, which has a very, very like kind of rolling landscape. Looks very similar to Denmark. It would be a logical extension of Denmark in terms of landscape. So looking at these barns, I mean, they love long barns in Denmark. So I initially got more of a Danish vibe here. We have a lot of like wind turbines, and then I just had to like do some maths on the house, because ultimately, if you see too many red houses, that'd be quite uncommon in Denmark. They tend to use more brick houses or more black houses, just less red ones. And we can see a whole bunch, and I was highlighting it here, a whole bunch of red going on here, which is really fascinating for the type of round we have. And then it's just a matter of synthesizing my thoughts. So the landscape's more Danish, but the architecture is more Swedish. I was thinking if this is going to be Denmark, it's going to be really close to Sweden, because you just wouldn't see that many red houses otherwise. Yeah, that's basically all I had to do. We could see a bus stop there. Obviously, bus stops are quite known in Sweden because they are often different colored, or they have a different colored tag on them, which can give away the county, but I don't know those, so it wasn't really helpful to me. Anyway, so time finally came to make a guess, and I put my marker in. Now, I'm going for near Sweden, but Denmark. What do you guys think? I mean, you guys can play along. I haven't given away which country it is yet. Will we end on 55, which would be a great effort, and it would be a great score. Definitely my best ever no moving streak to the point, or will it go further? Well, it was 7.5 kilometers away on the grandest extremity of Denmark there. Look how close that guess was. Look how close it was to Sweden as well. Very pleased with that. So 23,400 on Rural World. And we head forward to round number 56 here. And this one, okay, this one is an interesting round. It is very hilly. We have some big hills here. They're very kind of goldenish grass. We have a black Geoguessr here, it would appear. I zoom in on it here. It looks like a black Geoguessr, but it kind of looks gray. And with the fact that it's so overcast here, I wasn't sure if this is actually black or maybe just a white Geoguessr that somehow the sun's reflecting to make it look white here instead, or make it look black when it's actually white. So I decided to actually let the landscape dictate my guess rather than the Geoguessr here, because I thought actually probably better to just trust what it actually looks like in case the car is baiting me. So I check out all the signs we have here. I'm looking for palm trees as well. We do have some of these ones here. Forget what they're called, but these are the ones that are really common in Western Brazil and some other parts of the Amazon as well, and particularly in Rondonia. I think you see these palm trees just a hell of a lot in Acre as well. And we have these big ridges here. So all in all, I was definitely thinking that the landscape looks more Brazilian here, especially like Rondonia. I couldn't place it exactly, but I definitely thought that. I guess the concerns here are, one, the soil is not very red, which of course is not always red in Brazil. Like this direction's red, but this direction's white, so really didn't know what to make of that. And number two was that the car still kind of appeared black to me, so I just wasn't really sure. At the end of the day, I thought Roraima here, that northern state of Brazil, probably fit the best. So I end up going on this northern ridge here, and I really quite like this guess because we had hills north and south of us where I guessed. You can kind of see that the angle even lines up quite nicely here with the road, and that we have hills north and south of us with bigger ones south, which actually perfectly lines up for where I've clicked. I thought I even may have 5K'd here. I didn't actually get the 5K, but I thought the kind of eastern way the road turned off actually looked really quite good for how I lined this up. So we're going like southeasterly here, and then it bends up and a little bit northeasterly, and we can see that there. So I thought actually, yeah, maybe I found it. So that was pretty much the end of my thought process here, and I sent in the guess. It was Colombia. So the black Geoguessr was not lying here. It was just a car. Now, if I was purely going on car meta there, and I don't know, I was very disappointed with this because obviously pure car meta there, you just send Colombia, but I just didn't quite believe the car was telling the truth. And there you go. It's east of the Andes, but, and again, apologies for the quality because you could probably see this. But let me actually just go and show you guys this round. So we were over here in Colombia, and east of the Andes, it obviously gets very flat for the most part. Like this whole area here is pretty much dead flat with a few maybe small hills. But we were in like a very rare kind of area here where you do actually see there is quite a bit of elevation, and we're kind of moving through some foothills here. So that's actually not something I was particularly aware of. I have seen it before. Like I know like west of Yopal, you kind of enter the hills here a little bit like this. But that being said, it was not something I was familiar with still being in Gen 3 up here. So definitely, yeah, one of the few roads that kind of goes through the hills, the foothills here. So a difficult round, I could definitely admit, though who knows how far we could have gotten, because 56 is an extremely high streak on this map. So give it a go yourself if you're curious. And now for this map, it is actually a retired record category, so you have to go down here to the retired records. It's probably been retired for about a year at this point, so by no means the most up-to-date category, I admit, but there you go. Actually, solo rural world no moving, that would have placed me third. I think Steek's record, whatever it was removed from here, so it would have been, I don't know if it would have actually qualified for third, but somewhere around the top 5. And then actually on assisted, so with Twitch chat helping, it is actually better than third place. So this is one of the best ever rural world no moving streaks, that's for sure. Obviously a year later than people were actually grinding it, but nevertheless still pretty impressive, I would say, especially considering this was literally one of my first attempts at it. I probably, in terms of total hours on this record, have done less than 2 hours, so I think considering that a really good result. And yeah guys, that is it for the video. Let me know if you want me to go and attempt to beat any of these other records. I could see some being potentially possible. For example, a Diverse World 78 NMPZ streak could be a fun blast from the past. Let me know what you guys think of that if you want to see it. But guys, thank you so much for watching the video all the way to the end. Let me know if you liked it, subscribe if this is your kind of content, and I'll see you guys in a video very soon. Till next time, and goodbye.